Hey guys, it's Laptop Laura, and this is Copy That Pops. Writing tips and psychology hacks applied to online biz success.
Here we go.
Happy New Year, my copy poppers. I wanted to pop in with you this week just to do 3 things. Number 1, to wish you a happy start to 2019. Done and done. And number 2, to share some wins from 2018 and invite you to share with me as well. And then number 3 is to share with you some of my plans for 2019 and invite your feedback on that so I can make everything better for you, to serve you better. Okay, so we got number 1 complete. Let's talk about number 2, sharing wins from 2018. So my New Year's Eve was fabulous. I got together with some of my neighbors and friends. 6 of us were entrepreneurs and 2 of us were not, but they were significant others of us crazy biz peeps, one of which was my husband, Devin. And just before the clock struck midnight, we ate, stood around the fire in our neighbor's outdoor fire pit, drank adult beverages, and shared one of our favorite moments or wins from the past year. So what did I share? Well, for me, I've run away from public speaking nearly my entire life. I remember distinctly a few instances from childhood where I had to present, was absolutely terrified, did horribly, and then swore I would never do it again. And that carried over into my adult life. And if you know more of my story, then you know that I used to teach high school math and psychology. And that is actually public speaking of sorts. So some people might sound or feel surprised when I tell them that I don't love public speaking, or I didn't. But the first day that I actually had to teach, it was during my student teaching program. And I had to get in front of a group of 17 and 18-year-old seniors in honors pre-calculus. And I was like 24 myself, so not much older than them. I was mortified, horrified. Oh, it was terrible. And we used to use those overhead projectors, if you remember back from your school days, where you write on a transparent film and you're facing the whole class. And then behind you, whatever you write shows up on the wall behind you. So I was using that and I started teaching a lesson. And I noticed that the entire projector and then, of course, the resulting projection on the wall behind me was shaking nonstop. And I was like having this third person out of body experience, like watching it from above, thinking, is there an earthquake going on right now? Sadly, no, it was my freaking hand. I couldn't stop it from shaking. And I felt even more embarrassed because I knew that everyone knew I was nervous. It was painful. And just thinking back to it makes me remember the pain. But my desire to become a teacher was just slightly higher than my utter mortification from sucking at it. So I persisted. And by the 2nd year of teaching, I started to really find my stride and I grew to love it. It was actually fun to perform the lessons, as I call it. Teaching is a bit of a performance if you want to really keep people engaged. And I actually got teenagers to care and enjoy mathematics. And I actually got teenagers to care about and enjoy mathematics. And I had many students come up and tell me that they hated math until they took my class, or that they hated all the math teachers they ever had until they met me. And that was really fulfilling to hear. But after teaching for about 5 years, I felt like I had mastered it and I wanted a new challenge. I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and 4-Hour Workweek. And the internet had matured so much more than it had been before I'd become a teacher. So it was a lot more feasible than it had been prior. The year was 2011 and I quit teaching full-time to make the jump. And my journey to where I am now at the end of 2018 or early 2019 as I record this is a bit of a snake that sort of weaves and curves and bends. I worked on many different businesses until I found some real footing in my current one, in the Copy the Pops world, where I now focus on helping other entrepreneurs to do 3 main things: write a great book that shows off your expertise, self-publish your book as a bestseller on Amazon, and number 3 is to leverage your book to grow your brand and business. I'm toying with some branding in 2019 around author leadership, But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's wrap up this item number 2 still around my win for 2018. So let's get back to public speaking because that's where it is. So after mastering speaking to about 30 teenagers trapped in a classroom all year, I didn't think that skill translated into doing well on stage in front of business people, in front of peers and colleagues. So I started hiding again. I ran away. And I refused to speak in front of more than just a few people at a time for many, many years, yet again. And in June of 2011, when I jumped into the business world, I had just turned 30. So my birthday is June 6th. And this past year in 2018 is when I finally decided to fully get over this fear of speaking, to change my story once and for all. And it started in January, so just 1 year ago from recording this. And in June, I turned 37. So to kind of put the math together, for about 6.5 years, I hid from speaking again. But this past year has been a pivotal year. I changed my story, and it's helping me to take my business and brand to the next level. So the win that I shared around the fire just before the clock struck midnight was that not only had I spoken on stage as much as I could this past year and reframed everything psychologically so I got rid of the fear, but I also spoke on stage on 3 different continents. So I spoke in North America, Europe, and Australia. That sounds pretty badass, right? And this is just the beginning. So I believe that being a published author gives you leadership credibility instantly, and speaking on stage is the next level of that too. Plus, being an author helps you to get more speaking gigs and to get paid more for those speaking gigs that are paid that you book. So that was a big win for me. I went from terrified of public speaking to speaking in 3 different continents around the globe. And if you are terrified of speaking on stage, trust me, you're not alone. But if I can get over it and learn to love it, something for 36 years I swore was impossible, then you can too. So my action step for this number 2 of our podcast is to please share with me a win of yours from 2018. It's important that we stop and reflect and be appreciative of what we did accomplish. I know we always look forward as entrepreneurs into what's next and what's bigger, but let's reflect on what great thing that we did this past year. So I would love to hear it. Post it on social media and you can tag me. My handle is Laptop Laura. Or send me a private message or email. I'd love to hear it. And my email is laura@copythatpops.com. Would love to hear something you are proud of having achieved this past year. Okay, item number 3 is share some of my plans for 2019, and I'd love to hear feedback from you as well. So for plans, my main goals for 2019 are several-fold. I want to scale my business up. I want to sell more products and services, but I actually want to take on fewer private clients so I can focus on growing my group programs and courses, which I really believe in and see as my way to help even more people and even more people who maybe can't afford getting private help for tens of thousands of dollars. So I want to scale more one-to-many offerings versus one-to-one so that I have more time available to do what I love most in business, which is number 1 now, speaking on stage, which I never would have believed. And number 2 is organizing events that bring people together. If you remember one of my podcast episodes from January of 2018, episode 107, which was titled Your One Word Quick Copy Tip, Connection Edition, which you can find at copythatpops.com/107, or just search for episode 107 in any podcast player that you're listening to right now. You'll know that at my core, what makes me happiest in life, and always has ever since I was little, is connection. I love feeling connected with others, and I love connecting people with one another. Many people actually see me as a super connector, and they ask me, who do you know who does XYZ? And I make connections all the time. And so I feel that I can do that best this year in 2019 with 3 things. 1 is my group coaching programs and masterminds around books and author leadership, etc. So So that's a way I can help more people and connect with more people versus only doing one-on-one services. Number 2 is speaking on stage to bigger and bigger crowds. And number 3 is attending, but also organizing, being the leader of more events. So that's where I'm going to be focusing this year, is growing and scaling my business, outsourcing more, delegating more, hiring more, getting more systems and step-by-steps in place in the back end so that I can take a bit of the busy work off of my shoulders, off of my plate, and have more time to serve my group coaching folks, speak on stage, and organize great events. So as an action step for this number 3, I would really love to hear feedback from you on how I can serve you best in 2019 with the idea in mind around connection. So I'd love to hear what I can do to make you feel more connected with others while also accomplishing your business goals. So post about it on social media. You can tag me at Laptop Laura, or please feel free to send me a private message if we're connected on Facebook or on Instagram, or shoot me over an email, laura@copythatpops.com. And actually, I'm a little bit faster with getting back to people on email because my messages in the socials get sometimes a little bit crazy and backlogged. But I would love to hear your feedback. I appreciate your listenership and value your opinion on how I can serve you better. All right, well, back to having an incredible start to 2019, and I will look forward to speaking with you again soon when we'll find more ways to write copy that pops. Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find more at copythatpops.com, and I'm at Laptop Laura on all the socials.
Sometimes we find the greatest things in life.